Are you thinking about buying a home in Southern Maryland? Wait and watch, and let me tell you about my experience first. All right, what's up everybody? My name is Rob Schou and I'm here with EXP Realty in Southern Maryland. My goal is to help people move down here to Southern Maryland and take some pressure off of them and make it so much easier than the stress that it can be when you're moving to a new place. So if you need some help, if you have any questions, anything, make sure you use that contact information below. Reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you. Call me, text me, whatever you want, and I'd be there for you. Now also, if you want, you can scroll down to the first comment, click on the link there, and it will take you right to my Calendly, which will set up a Zoom meeting with me where we can talk about your needs as a buyer and how I can help you and see if I'm a good fit to help you make some decisions about where to live in Southern Maryland. And last but not least, if you haven't yet and you find this content helpful, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time I put out new content about moving to Southern Maryland. All right, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and get started. And what we're going to talk about today, it's going to kind of be a mix of, my experience with the home buying process, not only as a realtor, but also on the personal level, and just some tips about what it's like to buy a home in Southern Maryland and what it's like to, just feel through that process. One of the first things I'm going to say is, as a real estate agent, I definitely sometimes can forget that it's not normal for people to buy and sell houses on the regular basis. And so one of the biggest things, and the first thing I'm going to talk about today, is the fact that there are a ton of emotions when buying or selling a house. So we're going to focus on the buying side of it, but going through the negotiation, let's back it up. Going and looking at houses first, and then finding the one you're in love with and going through the negotiations, hopefully winning, maybe losing, is just a roller coaster of emotions. And so I think as a real estate agent, I'm always checking in with myself to remember what it was like as when I bought my first home with my wife and just what we went through. And I try to be, thoughtful of that and just trying to figure out how I can make that less emotional. And that's not what I'm saying, because it should be emotional. It should be fun. It should be exciting. I guess less of an emotional roller coaster and more of a level ride than what I can remember going through before. So I think that's my biggest thing for my home buying experience personally, is that I like to make the transaction as smooth as possible. The second thing of my experience, this one has changed and everyone's been talking about it in the news in 2022. The house hunting experience, the days of house hunters and kind of stuff like that, where you go around and see 3 houses and then take 2 weeks to decide and then go back and see 3 more houses, and that those houses you saw first are still on the market. That doesn't happen anymore. In 2022, you're lucky if houses are on the market for 3 or 4 days. So the house hunting process really starts the day that we start talking, and we start sending. I start sending you digital listings, so I send you emails constantly, just kind of giving you different ideas. We start narrowing it down and seeing what houses catch your eye, and then get you here. And once you get here, those houses you saw earlier, if you're coming 2, 3, 4 months from when I'm sending them, they're probably not going to be there anymore. What more likely is going to happen is houses that are similar to it in a similar area are going to be there, and we'll be able to go see those houses. So unless you're ready to move within days of contacting me, understand that most likely in 2022, right now, the house you see on the market probably won't be there when you get here a few weeks or a month or so down the road. So the house buying process, house hunting process is totally different than it has been previously. But with technology and with, I do FaceTime tours and video tours and stuff like that, we can kind of mitigate that and you can get a good feel of everything, especially if you wanted to move quickly. The negotiation process is that next step. We've seen homes, whether it's virtually, whether it's, you came here and we've kind of gotten a feel for it. Now we start that actual negotiation process. And I'd love to tell you that right now in 2022, it's a super easy, quick, a few back and forth with the seller, but the seller holds all the cards right now. A seller in this market right now for a reasonably priced house, I'm seeing houses go for 3 to 5% over list price. Now, sometimes the townhomes are going for 1.5-ish%, but for the most part, single family homes on average are closing for that 3-ish% over list price, which is just crazy. Now, I will say, I don't think this is going to keep going. I think with interest rates rising, I think demand's going to fall off a little bit, and supply and demand's going to balance out. So I could see, I don't think there's going to be a crash or a drop, but I could see home prices leveling out and the playing field between buyers and sellers becoming more level, and hopefully list price will be list price and we'll stop going completely over it, and using it just as kind of a benchmark to see how high we can go. So that would be something really nice. And then real negotiations will come where we can start negotiating terms of a contract, not just price too. So I'm excited to see that, and hopefully soon we'll be seeing that. And now we've done the negotiations. Hopefully that dream home is under contract. And let's talk about some of the costs that maybe you're not aware of, or maybe the last time you bought a house you forgot about, or maybe you bought in a market where the seller actually paid these closing costs or these costs. So let's talk about just a few costs real quick. I'm not going to go over the specific amounts that each one costs because it can change from state to state, house to house kind of thing. But there's definitely 4 big things you're going to want to watch out for. You're going to need a down payment, unless you're like a VA loan or a USDA loan, which if you're interested in those two, make sure you reach out to me and I can hook you up with a local lender who can give you all that information. So a down payment can range from anywhere from 3% all the way up to 20% is kind of average, but it depends on the house size, it depends on your income, it depends on your credit. So there's so many variables with that. And their closing costs, which include a whole bunch of different fees from lenders, from the title company, and just other stuff like that, like your insurance premium, your taxes. So that can vary as well, but that's something to really watch out for. And your lender would really be the one to talk to about that. The next one is an appraisal fee. So as the buyer, you're responsible for paying for the appraisal fee. They run anywhere from $450 to I've seen up to $800. So it really depends on who you're getting to do it. And the last one that I would mention is a home inspection. Now it's been kind of the in vogue thing to do in this hot market. Some people have been waiving their right to an inspection. I never tell my buyers to do that, even in a competitive offer situation, just because you always want to have it inspected. From a personal standpoint, I bought an investment house and I was lucky I got it inspected because the septic system was trash. It basically didn't have a septic system anymore. And if I didn't get that inspection done, I would have been out at least 20 grand. But luckily, because I had that inspection done, I was able to negotiate with the sellers and they were able to pay for all of the repairs. So I really, really, really recommend, even in this competitive market, unless you're okay with maybe having a huge hidden expense, to get the inspection no matter what, just so you know. Now inspections can run, and they kind of go depending on the square footage and other stuff that's around there, but they can go as low as 300, they can go as high as 1,000. It all depends on what you're doing, and they can even go higher than 1,000 if you're getting a whole bunch of stuff done at the time of inspection and who you're getting it done with. But again, so down payment, closing costs, appraisal fee, and a home inspection, those are 4 big things that you're going to want to watch out for, and those are going to be out-of-pocket expenses that you want to account for as you start your home buying process. After this, we've done all these things. We found the house, we negotiated, we're under contract, we got the appraisal and the home inspection done, and then after the appraisal and home inspection, there's like a weird period of silence where I feel like not much is going on, and that's where the title company is really processing everything and getting everything set up for your closing. So just be prepared for that. It can feel like a long time, but there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't need signatures for from you, that we're not calling someone out to do anything. It's just kind of that waiting period. And I find that is when buyers, I know that is when I got the most nervous, and I would constantly check in with my agent, constantly check in with my loan officer. Just know that it's normal to feel that nervousness. It's normal for it to feel like the longest silence in the whole world, but stuff is getting done and we're progressing towards that closing date. All right, so while you're sitting there waiting for that 10 days, and this is something that my wife and I always struggle with, is don't buy anything. Don't open up any new credit cards. Don't buy that brand new car that you want to buy. Don't go out and buy a bunch of kayaks from REI, which is what we did, on a credit card, because any of those things can kind of mess up your debt to income ratio, and that can really just tank a real estate deal really quick, because The lender is lending you your mortgage based on the snapshot they took at the time you applied for it. So keep that snapshot the same for the most part. Don't change stuff up. And if you have a question about it, if you need to buy a car because yours broke down or a big expense happens, talk to your lender first. Whatever you're going to do, talk to your lender first. And this is the benefit of having a local lender, because they'll be there to answer your calls, really talk to you, and give you advice for it. So before you make any big purchases during this home buying process, make sure you reach out to that lender first just to make sure it's okay, and they can advise you the best way to do it. And so one of the last things I'm going to say is the closing date. Now, with the closing date, you're going to want to be flexible. It has been a pretty tight market with closing dates. Like, I've closed on time or earlier for most of my deals in 2022, but I can remember when I first moved into my house with my wife, we thought for sure we were closing on a certain date. The closing got pushed back 3 days because of some title issues, and that means we had to basically live out of a U-Haul. So we had all of our stuff packed up in a U-Haul. We had to rent the U-Haul for 3 or 4 more days because of it. And it was a pain. It was a big old pain in the butt. But I think what it came down to is, for that 3 or 4 days of inconvenience, we got into our house and it was worth it. So just understand that you may have to be flexible on the good side, where you get in there earlier maybe, or maybe even be flexible where it might go past that closing date, and it can be not the best thing, but it will turn out okay. And that kind of leads me to my last thing. I realize now, after buying multiple houses myself, after selling and buying houses as a real estate agent, that all my stress and worry wasn't going to change anything. So all the stress, all the worry I did, the fretting over the periods of silence, the wondering if the appraisal is going to come back on time, the stressed over what the inspection's going to say, that internal angst that I had wasn't going to change anything. So I've become, and I tell my clients this too, just deal with it as it comes up. I know it's so hard to say that, but there's so many unknowns when you're dealing with real estate that a lot of it you just have to deal with it when it comes up. Put that framework in place so you're able to be flexible. Have those things ready for yourself. Don't do things that are going to hurt you, like I said before, where you're buying things when you're not supposed to. But as far as like the appraisal, if it comes back, under what you're paying and you need to figure out how to reconcile that, let's deal with that when it happens. If there's something in the home inspection that comes back and it's a big ticket item, let's not stress about it before. Let's see that come up and then deal with it when it happens, because there's no point in adding more stress onto an already stressful situation. All right, so that's my experience with home buying as a person, but also as a realtor. Hopefully it helps you kind of get an idea of what it's like to buy a home down here in Southern Maryland. If you have any questions or need any help, make sure you use that contact information below. And like I said before, scroll down, first comment, click on the link, and then we can have a one-on-one conversation about your needs when you're moving down here to Southern Maryland. All right, and if you haven't yet, make sure you click that subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time we put out new content. See you on the next video.